Well, it's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means we got NWA Powerrr, but not to mention we got two AEW events. The first one is a very special AEW Dark before AEW Dynamite. I'm so excited to review two AEW shows in one episode. But also, we cannot forget NXT. As you know, we're getting closer and closer to Halloween Havoc. I'm so excited. Of course, we have some very interesting developments, as you know, the Pick Your Poison match. We saw that Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade picked their poison, and of course, many other things taking place. But also, we got some news updates. I believe this is some that maybe some of you may enjoy what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with NWA Powerrr. We start out with Trevor Murdoch versus Matt Taven. Now, this is a non-title match. However, if Matt Taven was able to pick up a win against Murdoch, it would be a perfect opportunity for him, not only just to proceed the tag titles like he has promised to say he was going to do, but also the world title. But however, you have to face a guy who is not afraid of beating a match. But he did finish off Matt Taven when he applied the Bulldog and just left him there, making sure that the win goes right into. However, more developments is happening. Now, apparently, something happened when it come with the Champions Series. Velvet Sky originally wanted to give her title up the Champions Series to Tim Storm, but however, some things have changed apparently. I don't know. I kind of missed this part, but I had a feeling that maybe the Cardonas had something to do with it. So basically, there was a Champions Series matchup between Chelsea Green and Angelina Love to see who will be the one to face Camille for the NWA Women's World Title, or as we call it, the Burke. So basically, that's later on. Now, recently we saw, as you know, Rolando Freeman, the brother of Russ Freeman, has been, of course, demanding for a NWA World Title shot. However, someone has a problem with that, and that is Tyrus. Now, Tyrus, as you know, things are now becoming turmoil between both he and Black Cheese. Now, Black Cheese believes that Tyrus is making a big mistake in cashing in his NWA television title. But the problem is, what other option does he have? Tyrus knows there is no other option. This is the only one he has left, despite he has to sacrifice. But Black Cheese thinks that he's making a big mistake. He doesn't want to hear of it. He wants this title. So that's the thing what's going on, but we'll see what takes place. Now, our next interview, we have, of course, AJ Kazana. AJ Kazana is being interviewed by Mae Valentine. She talks about him involving in the television title. He believes that he is the rightful guy who could win, because apparently his opponent that he's going to face in the tournament is none other than the Golden Standard, Jordan Clearwater of the Idolmania Sports Management. So we'll see which one of those two walk away. Now, our next match we have is JR Kratos versus Question Mark. Now, this guy thinks he is the question mark, but however, I knew that Aaron C was up to no good. He loaded up his black glove with possibly brass knucks, knocking out Kratos. But however, Question Mac applied the Mongolian spike. Now, of course, he thinks that this is question mark, but it's not. but sooner or later it's going to be exposed. Now, our next interview, we saw the Dirty Sexy Boys. It appears that they will get a non-title match against La Rebellion, but however, the issue they know they have to do, if they pick up a win against La Rebellion, they will get another title. They will get an opportunity of the title shot. Now, our next match we have, of course, is the Champion Series title opener opportunity: Chelsea Green versus Angelina Love. Now, many people were voting for Angelina Love, but however, Chelsea Green tricked the referee by playing that her nose was broken, but she used the tights when she rolled up Angelina Love to get. Now the Cardonas are setting out to get all the titles, believing they are saving NWA. But hopefully Camille does not need to lose the title to Chelsea Green. Now our next match, our next match we do have is Joe Alonso versus Kerry Morton. I thought this match was great. Joe Alonso being disrespectful to the Morton family. He doesn't give a damn about who they are as long as he gets what he wants. But however, Kerry Morton has to stay on task, knowing that on hard times he will be facing, of course, Homicide for the junior heavyweight title. So that is something he needs to do. But however, it was the knee strike that sealed the deal for Kerry Morton to pick up a good win. Now, our last interview by May Valentine, we had Jordan Clearwater. Clearwater claims that the world television title is meant for him, that the title is destined to be with a guy like him. AJ Kazana, he is just, a pig that he believes that should be not carrying that title. But we'll see what happens. But May Valentine asks, what is the situation with Jeez and Cyrus? And he doesn't want to talk about it because he thinks this is a family problem. But the problem is, like I said, Tyrus knows he has no other option, but he has to do what he thinks is right to get get the world title. Now, our main event, we have Mercurio versus EC3. Now, Mercurio thought that he had everything under control, but here's the thing: EC3, he's unfazed, so he decided to finish him off with the essential 1, 2, 3 is over, and he put out a promo sending a direct message to Tom Latimer. So basically, we will see them at hard times, and we'll see what happens then. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's go with AEW Dark. Alright, AEW Dark. This is a very special one since they showed this uploaded earlier in the morning around 8 a.m. Opened up with Hikaru Shida versus Vanessa Craven. I seen Vanessa before. I thought it was a very interesting match because Vanessa is a much bigger individual, but I knew that Hikaru Shida was going to apply the katana to seal the deal, giving her the W, and I thought it was a great momentum. Next match we have Dark Order members Uno, Silver, Reynolds, and Ten taking on Tyler Terval, Shayna Hognes, Zach Watser, and Giordano. Now, during the entire match, we have Jose, the assistant, who is giving his thoughts about this match. He believes that Ten is being held back by the Dark Order with his talent. Now, we have seen time and time again, Ten has been very, very impressive, even as a singles competitor. But Jose is convinced, believing the Dark Order has been holding him back. But, of course, we got to remember, the problem was Jose's been blowing things out of proportion, saying, oh, they stuffed him with the mask. That wasn't it. He was given a purpose by the late Brody Lee, and I don't think Brody Lee would, if he was alive today, he would appreciate that. But yes. But apparently Uno was the one who picked up the win, and of course I don't know how Jose treats it, but as you know, this event was in Toronto, and that is of course the home country of Evil Uno, who's Canadian. Now our next match we have Eddie Kingston Ortiz taking on Mo Jabari and Jake O'Reilly. This match ended with Ortiz and Kingston when Ortiz applied the Fisherman Buster, giving him the win. But however, Eddie Kingston wanted some more pain from the opponent that lost with his little finisher move. Now our next match we have Orange Cassidy and Best Friends taking on Cobb Durst, Steven Mays, and Jesse V. Now I can tell you how this ended is with, of course, the orange punch on all of them, but Maines was the last one to receive it. 1, 2, 3, it was done. Right from there. Next match, we have Ari Daivari with Sonny Kiss taking on Brandon Cutler. Now, Sonny Kiss gets involved, but however, Brandon Cutler tried to use the cold spray on Sonny. It worked, but couldn't get Daivari, but Daivari picked up the win. But however, things did not go. He decided to challenge Hook for the FTW title, believing that he was going to give him $50,000 if he had him the title. But however, Hook said it looks like it's not for sale. He even called out Hook, but Hook comes out, intimidates Ari Daivari. It shows one thing: he knows how much now. Hook knows Daivari's too much of a chicken to even deal with him. So he sent Sonny to hurt him, the be the sacrificial lamb. So Hook is not worried. But if I was him, I'd be worried about Parker or that weasel Slim J if they show up. Now our next match we have Wilton Nightingale versus Celicia Sparks. I thought this match was good. As you know, I feel like Wilton Nightingale should be signed with AEW. I mean, she has shown very promising, but it was the Dr. Bomb by Wilton Nightingale to seal the deal for her to pick up the win. Our main event, we have QT Marshall versus Dante Martin. Now, QT, we know how he operates. He always finds ways to cheat, claiming that he's the best wrestler. But however, it was, of course, Dante Martin with a backslide, which was unexpected by him to pick up the win. And I don't think QT expected it, because we know one of his main arsenals is the nosedive. QT saw that a mile away, but the black slide was one of those moves that I don't think he saw it coming. So QT missed it. So we'll see what happens then. But right now, let's move on to the next AEW show, and we're talking about Dynamite Tuesday titles. Okay, AEW Dynamite, or as they call it, Title Tuesday. It opened up with the World Trios titles. Now, keep in mind, last week we witnessed Orange Cassidy dethroning Pac, but this time now he and his best friends, Chuck and Trent, are on a quest to dethrone Death Triangle for the World Trios titles against Death Triangle. So this was a very interesting match. I think it was a lot of fun. But however, everybody presumed that this match was going to end with, of course, Pac actually using the hammer. But no, it was Rey Fenix who picked up the win with a somewhat of a driver onto Trent. And of course, that was a good victory. But of course, right in the end, you notice how the Phoenix is telling Pac, you don't need the hammer to win. So basically, it was the right call. Some people even started saying, could this be the end of Death Triangle of this? We don't know. That's too early to tell until we find out for sure. Now, we get an interview with Tony Schiavone, who's in the back talking to Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, along with Rebel. Now, their primary objective is to obtain the AEW Women's title. Now, they're not concerned about the interim title because they believe that's nothing. But they seems like they have a plan over something. We know last time Britt and Hayter were on each other's nerves due to the fact of what happened at All Out, but we'll see what happens then. Now, our AEW interim World Women's title between Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm. It was a pretty good match. You know, these two ladies know each other pretty well. We didn't. So, as you know, people are saying Shida could have a third belt in her collection, but it did not. It did not. It ended with, of course, Toni Storm applying the Storm Zero and giving her a win. But however, of course, like every other plan, we saw, of course, Hayter and Rebel attack both Shida and Storm. But Britt Baker show up to ensure that they can finish Toni Storm up. But out of the blue, Saraya shows up and gets in the face of Britt Baker. But of course, Rebel and Hayter had no clue what was going on. But out of the blue, we saw someone else. Another Yoshi wrestler, and our very first ever AEW Women's Champion, Rio, showed up to save the day, took care of business against Hayter and of course, Rebel. But at the same time, Toni Storm was just happy to see Rio that no one expected the Rio to be there. We know she's been going back and forth in Japan and recently, but it's great to see her back. But it was also told that this coming Wednesday, back on the regular time, that they will be Rio will be facing Jamie Hayter. Now, Rio has beaten her before, but we'll see what happens then. Now, Warjo has decided to send a message out to the OGK. As you know, the OGK, the Kingdom, made the decision to attack FTR, declaring that they are the rightful top guys of pro wrestling. But in this case, they thought they had everything under control until Warjo showed up and ruined the party. So they're giving them the chance, okay, which one of you want the World Television title? Which one of you want the TNT title? I don't think it makes a difference. But that's what they are planning to do. Now, FTR, as you know, they had an interview with Tony Schiavone, with Renee Paquette. As you know, FTR are the number one ranking of the tag team division. They haven't cashed it in since they've been busy, defending their recent titles, the AAA, the IWGP tag team titles, and the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. But now they feel like they're confident enough to finally make the play to regain the AEW World Tag Team titles. But however, Swerve and Our Glory seem like they are determined to bring back their tag team titles back again. So apparently there was a proposition made next week, a number one contendership. So basically, their FTR and Swerve and Our Glory will be in action to determine who will be the ones to challenge the Acclaim. Now, Alex Marvez set up an interview with Jay Lethal along with Sonjay Dutt to confront with Darby Allin. But of course, Jay Lethal mentioned something to Darby Allin, telling him that what happened last time between them was a fluke. But they said they got information from someone that said they know Darby Allin's weak spot. The obvious question is, who was that person? But later turned violent until they put Darby Allin underneath the door of tried to contain him to soften up Jay Lethal. But we all know Darby Allin is relentless. He's resilient. No one can stop him in that sense. So we'll see what takes place afterwards. Now, during a little interview, I think this was a very interesting promo with William Regal, where he talks and then he was interrupted by MJF. It appears that there's some history between both MJF and Regal. It turns out that they knew each other back then when Regal was still working with WWE, and of course that Regal kind of cut him from, proceeding what he wanted to do. And of course MJF had a lot of things that he wanted to let out of his chest. Of course, one thing it's clear for me when I'm watching Regal doing this is how he sees a lot of himself in MJF. Like he's saying, I know what the devil looks like. So he's like that. But he even gave him an opportunity while he had his back turned. Okay, here I am. Take the shot. It looked more like he wanted to, but he didn't. But Regal did and said, you got a lot to learn. So basically, there's like, okay, what else did he need to learn in order to do that? Now, Renee Paquette returns doing her interview, this time with the Acclaim. As you know, last week we saw effing Sterling decided to use the scissor to blackmail the scissor trademark onto the Acclaim to get an opportunity of the AEW World Tag Team titles. So they have no other choice but to do that, to reclaim it. It's going to happen, I think, on Rampage, and hopefully that they get reclaimed what's rightfully theirs. Now another interview, but this time with Schiavone, with Bryan Danielson and Yuta. Bryan Danielson gave his thoughts about what happened with Daniel Garcia, but Wheeler Yuta seems like he knew right from the start he couldn't trust him. Claudio and Wheeler Yuta actually saw this a mile away, but of course, I think Wheeler Yuta was right. He should have known that possibly all this time this was going to happen. So I think maybe Danielson may have to, rethink what he just did. Now our next match is the Ring of Honor World Championship. We have, of course, Dalton Castle, who was a former champion, taking on El Ocho, Chris Jericho. But of course the boys did try to help, and of course they took care of Hager until Hager went ballistic and decided to beat down on the boys. But once again, this time there was no cheating involved. Jericho used Judas effects to finish off. But as soon as the match was over, he did a little post-match promo. He says that he said exactly what he's going to do. But the one despicable thing he tried to do is to take out Ian Riccaboni. He's no problem, but luckily Geraldine tried to reason with him, but in the process, Geraldine ended up in a tombstone pile driver. So he took it way too far. So we'll see what happens then. Now, our last interview, Renee Paquette tried to reach out to the baddies to find out if they have any progress trying to find Nyla Rose. As you know, Nyla Rose took the TBS championship, claiming that she is the real champion. But however, Jade came out with the process saying that that Nyla will be at Rampage, but threatened, of course, Tony Khan if she doesn't get what she wants, she'll hijack the show. So we'll see what happens then. Now our main event is the AEW World Championship. Hangman Adam Page and of course Jon Moxley. I thought this match was really expected it. These two guys who were determined everything, fought for the title, fought for the company, and that sort of thing is one of those storylines. But I think the one thing we did not anticipate is the fact is when what was it? Moxley applied a somewhat of a lariat onto Hangman Page, but however the ref saw something was wrong, so he called Doc Samson, the medical doctor who was right there on ringside. Apparently, the match was stopped, so it kind of went, what the hell happened? So Moxley regained the title, but however, a lot of people were thinking it was a work. I think I got the statement made by AEW that they posted out. Let's see. Here's the statement they put in. Hangman Adam Page was taken by the medical personnel to the Cincinnati Trauma Center and diagnosed with a concussion. He's discharged, but will return to AEW's concussion protocol. AEW and Hangman Page are grateful to the expert response to care of staff and local medical personnel, and appreciative of the love and support of the fans everywhere. So Hangman received a concussion, so it'll be some time until we see him. We don't know if this match will resume or however it's going to be. So, but the interesting part, when all this mayhem was happened, MJF comes out with Bryce Remsburg to cash in the chip. But however, he decided that he's going to declare this title match with Moxley at Full Gear. And we saw the smiling face of William Regal. Like, it's like he got into his head completely. And it was like, whoa, that's insane. I just enjoyed it. So, it's now been confirmed this match will be taking place. Moxley versus MJF for the AEW World Title. I think it's going to be a very amazing match. We'll just got to wait and see until then. But from now on, we're just going to keep on watching what's going to take place from then on. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with NXT. Okay, our final review, NXT. Open up with Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. Now keep in mind, this is a pick your poison match. Cora Jade picked Rhea Ripley to take care of Roxanne. So you probably would have imagined that this would be an advantage for Rhea Ripley since she's bigger and taller. But Roxanne really put up a fighting spirit type of match. However, that was enough. But once again, Dominic decided to get involved, distract Rhea Ripley distract Roxanne, but it gave Rhea Ripley to make her final adjustments, and then finally she defeated her by using the Riptide. While this match was over, celebration that Ripley accomplished that, Cora Jade is happy. She got away with thinking she picked the right person. But however, that doesn't end there. Now, as you know, we saw the Good Brothers on Raw. We saw the Good Brothers were in the back with AJ, but they were approached by none other than Cameron Grimes, saying that he wants them to be his tag partners against the Schism. So, of course, Good Brothers, being like the mercenaries they are, they say, we will do it unless you pay us up front. So that's exactly what he was going to do. So I'm like very excited. And of course, they did a little too sweet sign in the back just for final preparations to go into their match. Now, interesting interview coming with Grayson Waller. He, as you know, he is trying to prove once again that he is the greatest wrestler of all time, and that he's going to send Paulo Creed packing. But he received a surprise visit from the most scariest doll on this earth. I'm talking about Chucky. So Chucky gave his little nightmarish to Grayson Waller, and he ran like a little girl. They even said he actually took off. So basically, he just got scared. Now, our next match, we have Shannon Stacks Lorenzo along with Tony D. Now, Stacks, as you know, he's in deep waters with Tony D. So he's going to put him in a match of a wrestler of his choosing, and he picked former NXT champion and alumni Shinsuke Nakamura. Oh man, that crowd was amazing, singing his theme song. But that Shannon had that Stacks had the upper hand? No. It took only two Shikazas to take down Stacks and giving Shinsuke Nakamura the win. But of course, very disappointment by Tony D to see that his guy failed once again. Now, as you know, we saw one of the most amazing three best out of three series between Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So Axiom likes saying that that's one of the most intense matches they both have ever been in. So it looks like their little friendship has taken off. But of course, we know that Nathan Frazier will be involved in the ladder match for the North American title. But in this case, Mr. Stone and Wagner had something else to say. Basically, they believe that he believes that he's going to be the one to obtain the title. So we'll see what takes place after that. Our next match, we have Alba Fire versus Sonya Deville, being accompanied by Toxic Attraction. As you know, Sonya Deville is doing favors for her friend Mandy Rose after what happened the last time. But you probably would have assumed Sonya Deville would have gone away with it, but no. Alba Fire was the one who picked up the win after a misfired by Sonya Deville to Gigi Dolan and roll up Deville to pick up the win. Now later, the numbers game played another game, but here comes Mandy Rose showing up, believing that Alba Fire thought she had the upper hand, but Alba Fire was able to fight back no matter what, and she took out all three people in the ring. Even Mandy tried to get involved, but she ran. But the obvious question does remain: will Halloween Havoc be the day where Alba Fire claims her destiny? Will she be the one to dethrone? Keep in mind, it was a similar method with Halloween Havoc with Mandy Rose beating Raquel Gonzalez last year. Could history repeat itself with the same kind of a exchanging of the belts? We won't know until that day takes place. Now in the back, as you know, Wesley and Oro Menza becoming fast friends for the time being. As you know, they are part of the ladder match for the North American title. Once again, Mello decided to show up and try to take out his competition. He thinks he was doing Wesley a favor, but no. The match took place, but as always, Mello and Wesley basically what was it? This cat. Sorry. Anyway, as you know, this feud between about the North American title is getting out of hand with Mello. As you know, he's not in the right state of mind, trying to regain something that he felt should have been given back to him from the very beginning. But he was able to pick up the win against Lee and Oro Mensa. But however, things have gone out of hand. Of course, we got the other competitors show up. Wagner gave the big boot to Mello, but Nathan Frazier jumped real high and landed right on top of Wagner. So basically, this is going to be one crazy match to take place. But I have to say, who's going to be walking out as the North American champion at Halloween Havoc? We don't know. We'll just wait and see when that day happens. Now, we have the Schism taking on the Good Brothers and Cameron Grimes. I thought this match was fun. I love the Good Brothers, and of course, you probably would, but of course, Schism is not too subtle with the idea that Cameron Grimes had to use his money and resources to bring the Good Brothers. But you know how the Good Brothers are. And they took out, of course, who was it that took out? Magic. They took out Ripper with the Magic Killer and winning the match. But they did ask for their money. But Grimes didn't have to have the money with him, so they might have to take it out in the back. Now, our next interview was a very interesting one. We don't know. Last week we saw Sanga was with Valentina Feroz at her corner. All of a sudden, Verse shows up, whispered something in his ear. We don't know what was that all about or what is it. So they're trying to get to the bottom of it. But it appears that Veer wants Sanga to listen to him. Basically, have a chat. So Sanga shows up and decided, okay, I'll listen. So we'll see what happens. Now, next week on Tuesday, as you know, we have a title match taking place. We got Kaden Carter and Katana Chance taking on Zoe Starks and Nikita Lyons for the NXT Women's Tag Team title. So that is already now a done deal. Now our next interview, we have, of course, separate in different locations, Julius Creed and Damon Kemp. Now they're going back and forth, all this and that. You know, Julius, who's been very protective of his brother Brutus, this is his career on the line. But Damon Kemp is 100% confident that he's going to walk out and make sure that Brutus will be unemployed. But we'll see how Julius will do in the ambulance match. Now, as you know, and every time we saw Halloween Havoc, there's always a host. Once again, our host is from 2 years ago, which was, of course, Shotzi, making her way out, and all this and that. So she's very happy, and she said that she is getting her final touches for her costume. But all of a sudden, Zion Quinn shows up, asking that she would like to be her co-host. But apparently, he wasn't the only one. So is Quincy Elliott. So Shotzi had a better idea. Let's have a match between Zion Quinn and Quincy Elliott. Whoever wins will be the co-host. You probably would have assumed it was a really good match. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people did. But it was, of course, Quincy Elliott who picked up the win by applying the Diva drop and becoming the co-host with Shotzi. So it's going to be one fun event between these two. Now, as you know, Chase University are doing some homework over Halloween Havoc. But they just received a surprise visit from Chucky. Bodie Hayward got in his face. Well, in the television screen, to be exact. Professor Chase tried to tell him, don't get involved with him. But he cussed a lot, in the whole thing. And then, of course, the Hell said the same thing. She's like, what the F? And everybody turned right on her. And what I did like is when Vic Joseph says, man, Chase, you need to have a little swearing jar. Well, it's true, they do. Now, of course, we saw another contract signing. We're going to see Pretty Deadly putting their titles on the line against Malik Blade and Enofa Edris. So that's going to be another match that also will be taking place on Tuesday. Now, our next match is another Pick Your Poison match. We saw last Friday on SmackDown, Roxanne Perez asked Raquel Gonzalez to be her person to deal with Cora Jade. Now, the match was good, but it ended with a disqualification when, of course, Raquel used the kendo sticks onto, of course, Cora Jade. Jade won the match by disqualification, but apparently she didn't get the last laugh. It was Roxanne who did by attacking her, and of course, Roxanne was this close, hitting her with the stick, and she ran like a little girl. So we'll see what happens on Halloween Havoc. Now, our last thing we're going to see is the KO show between JD McDonough, Ilya Dragunov, and Braun Breaker. But we can see right from everything that JD McDonough, he's a very manipulative kind of person. So it was kind of obvious. But sooner or later, we're gonna see how this proceeds. Now, keep in mind, the real question does remain: will Braun Breaker be prepared for what comes next? Because this is a triple threat match. Last time he was involved, he lost, but things went out of hand between both Ilya Dragunov and Braun Breaker. KO left, and then of course we saw JD was right there on the side, but Braun Breaker took out the security team and all this and that. So it ended in that fashion. But when we saw Ilya Dragunov standing after giving two Moscow torpedoes to Breaker and McDonough, here comes Austin Theory with his briefcase. Is he planning to cash it in? I don't know. That's kind of interesting because we know he was unsuccessful to do that with Roman Reigns, but who knows? I don't know if the briefcase works on the NXT title. That's the thing we don't know. But we'll see what happens then. But right now, let's just end it right here with the reviews and move on to our last thing, which is, of course, news updates. Okay, welcome to the news updates here. Prestige Wrestling has announced for a match that will be taking place in their final pay-per-view of the year, called the This Things We Carry. That will take place on the 30th of December. It's going to be the American Wolves, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards taking on the Motor City Machine Guns. I think this is going to be another good match. Again, these guys have faced off before, but this is going to be another banger for those fans who want to see it up close. Now, as you know, SEAdLINNNG had the recent event. If you guys missed it, there is, in fact, it took place today. We got the high-speed title rules. We have Kakuta Sekiguchi versus Kaori Yoname and Yurika Oka, with referee Taiyo as the referee for this particular match. We have the Beyond the Sea tag team titles on the line. We have, of course, Fresas de Ogaísta with Makoto and Asuka taking on the members of Colors Saki and Yukiro Sakurai. This is the first time I see Saki team up with Yukiro Sakurai. Basically, she normally teams up with Hikari Shimizu, but right now I believe Shimizu is on her way to Mexico, where she'll be competing at the CLL Grand Prix, so that's going to be awesome. And of course, there's the Beyond the Sea title for a one-day tournament. We don't know. It was, as you know, the title was vacant when Arisa Nakajima had to, due to her injury she obtained not too long ago. So we're gonna see who be crowned as the new champion. Now, in addition of what happened to NOSAWA Rongai announcing his retirement, his friend Atsushi Onita, the founder of Frontier Martial Arts and Wrestling, FMW, is asking him that for one final match. So I would love to see that. I think it's going to be another interesting. People who are good friends with him would like to be part of that. We're seeing that with Keiji Muto the similar way, but yes, that's going to be interesting. Now, for a recent match that was announced for GCW, Drop Dead, we're going to have Busi taking on Chase Burnett and MM3. So that's going to be interesting. Now, found an interesting development about, as you know, I talked about AEW and NXT on the same day. It looks like a little bit of a small one-night war has reignited, but this is what it was told by Wrestling Observer Brian Alvarez. According to Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer, WWE is determined to have NXT beat AEW in the ratings with a special live Dynamite going head to head with the Black and Yellow brand. According to sources, W officials have said AEW beating NXT later tonight would be unacceptable. Alvarez tweeted, "Huge promotion for NXT on Raw. They determined to beat AEW and the ratings." So yes, if you guys remember back at the Wednesday Night War, NXT has lost a lot of the ratings with them. I know some of you questioned, if you guys remember, I mentioned this before, that the viewers had nothing to do with it, because some of you may question how we beat them that way. No, it's the demographic demos. That was the real deal that allowed AEW to continue where they're going, and that's something that many people have faced. So we'll see what happens. Now I will find out hopefully the following day what was the ratings, and hopefully we'll get more information on that. Now, huge news coming in for Ring of Honor. As you know, there's been talk about Ring of Honor having a weekly show. It was announced that there's going to be one final pay-per-view of the year with Ring of Honor, and that's going to be Final Battle that will be taking place at Arlington, Texas on the 10th of December. And after that, we will have, of course, the weekly show in 2023. And according to what I just discovered, it's going to be on HBO Max. So that's going to be interesting as well. So this is something that's been discussed. And this is almost similar to what we've seen with AEW. If you guys remember, AEW did a pay-per-views like Double or Nothing, Fighter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, and then All Out. Then we jumped in with the weekly show. But I think that's something it's almost similar, but I think it worked out. So we'll see what happens then. Our final update here, as you know, there's going to be this thing taking place in San Francisco, King of the Indies, 2023. The first match was announced for the 19th of November. We got Pro Wrestling Noah and member of Congo, Katsuhiko Nakajima, taking on JR Kratos. I think this match is going to be a blast, because you see Nakajima, this guy is a freaking beast. He devours his opponents. That's why I say it's going to be a banger. It's going to be out of control. I'm like thinking, can Nakajima really knock out JR Kratos? That is something I definitely want to hear and see. But we'll just have to wait and see till then. I believe right now we're just going to call it a day. Okay, so hope everybody enjoys this episode. Luckily, I did everything that was on Tuesday. 2 AEW shows, NWA Powerrr, and NXT. But the following day is going to be a little more interesting because, as you know, normally whenever we have AEW Dynamite, there's things I'll put in. Now I can concentrate with the New Japan Royal Quest to review both nights, and AAA Triple Mania Chapter 3. And of course, I got New Blood 5 that came out, so I definitely will review that. That will be the last thing I'll be doing. But also, hopefully, if there's any Stardom events, there's some I haven't seen yet, but we'll get to that as soon as possible. So, I believe that's pretty much it. So, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.